So, good morning and actually good afternoon and evening to those watching from different regions, I guess. And just to introduce myself, my name is Do, and I'm currently the product owner working on localization for the APAC region. And as it suggests, the topic for my talk today will be about APAC localization in Odoo 19. So, but first, before I get started with the actual presentation, here is the QR code that you can use to scan, and this will lead you to the code page that you can use to leave your questions, which at the end of the session we'll be using to answer all of the questions that's left. And also, it's not a paid advertisement, but I'm not getting paid for this, but there's another QR code here. Since you have your phones out, here is another QR code that you can scan, which we have another talks for APAC region, talking about China and other APAC regions. I'll give another 5 to 10 more seconds for you to be able to finish taking pictures of the QR code, and then I will begin the presentation from there onwards. So hopefully everyone took the picture, and then I will get started. So for today's presentation, I start with the mission for the R&D APAC team. Who is it? Who is it that is behind all the localization that we are doing for the APAC region? And then we'll be coming to the most important part of the presentation today, which is about what is new for the APAC region since the last release, which was Odoo 18, and then what is new for what is coming for the APAC region now that Odoo 19 has been released today. And then we'll sum up the session with a Q&A at the end based on all the questions that are left in the Q&A pad. So who is the team behind it? So here today I am representing the R&D APAC team, which is the team responsible for the localization. But what we do is we do not reinvent the wheel, we do not develop something new, but we further enable, sorry, there's an issue with the throat. We further enable Odoo for the APAC region by localizing the product with the essential localizations. And as you can see, these are all the regions that we have that fall under the scope of the APAC region, which actually goes a little bit more than 20 different countries. And what we try to, and how we do this is, we don't just as I mentioned, we don't just build up something new, but we leverage Odoo's standard framework and all the features there is so that we can preserve the Odoo core experience. We keep things simple. We try to help businesses in an all-in-one solution. And that's why we have actually been busy, because as you can see on the map, among all the countries that we actually cover under APAC region, we actually managed to push at least one or more localization tasks for the regions that are colored in purple today. So, but what's more important is not how much things we did, but what is it that we did. So I would like to first start by talking about what is it that we pushed since the last release of Odoo 18.0. And first, we start with the new localization packages. So we start with Cambodia here, and then in Cambodia, just as how we normally include the new localization packages, we included a chart of accounts and taxes, including VAT, withholding tax, accommodation tax, and the public lighting tax, which are the essential taxes to be managed in Cambodia. Also, we use this chart of accounts and taxes to generate a GDT-based financial report, which includes profit and loss report, balance sheet, and also the tax report that is needed, including VAT. I'm so sorry. And then, unlike other localization packages in general, where we simply start with the chart of account and taxes and the reports, we also managed to include KHQR, which is the national level QR code, which is acceptable by all the bank apps and the Bakong apps that you can use. And then now in Odoo, as long as you have the Bakong ID, you can use that Bakong ID to receive the payments in Odoo, which includes, of course, the POS, e-commerce, and invoicing directly inside of Odoo. So now you have this package, and it is available in 18.0 and onwards, which now you can generate all the GDT-based compliant reports, including the KHQR. Next one is we released a package for South Korea. Like other packages, we managed to include the chart of accounts, taxes, and then using this, we actually built a K-GAAP financial statements, which is the general accepted accounting principles for Korea. So in this sheet, we managed to generate the balance sheet and profit and loss report, but also the VAT report. And all of these are also available for 18.0 and onwards. But we can't miss out the e-invoicing. As Winand mentioned today in the keynote today as well, e-invoicing is becoming more and more widely needed, and there are certain countries in APAC which it is also becoming mandatory, not just for specific businesses, but all the businesses as well. And this is not just a specific country thing, it is becoming a worldwide trend, and APAC is not a region where we can also escape it as well. So to start with, the first one we had is Malaysia. So for Malaysia, since actually end of the last year, there was an initiative by the government that they started by phases and phases, where all the businesses, depending on the threshold by timeline, they had to mandatorily issue B2B and B2G e-invoices, all the invoices, and report it by e-invoicing to the authority, which we call My Invoice. So if without this integration, basically you have to create invoices in Odoo, and then you also need to create the same information invoice manually on the portal, which is not what we want. So we directly integrated with the My Invoice, which is the official portal and platform of Malaysia, so that we can actually submit the e-invoices seamlessly in Odoo. We support all the documents that are needed, including invoices, self-billed invoices, all the credit notes, debit notes, billing notes that are involved, but also we support both production and pre-production environment, where the user can connect to pre-production, which they can use for testing. And then once they actually want to switch over to the production environment, they can switch over to production and immediately seamlessly transition to submit it. But this is not it. We initially released it as intermediary versions were released. We added more additional and value-added features, where upon the validation, QR is displayed on the PDF QR code of PDF invoice of Odoo. But also we managed to now also support the flow in POS. So in the POS now, on the session directly, you can submit the e-invoice, but also you can generate consolidated e-invoice, which is specific to My Invoice. So a customer comes to POS and then they do not give us the information, they do not need an invoice, but we still have to report these orders to the authority. So what Odoo now can support is consolidating of all these orders that were not invoiced. So you just need to select a period on the wizard, group all of them into a single file, and you can submit it into one. And not to mention, we support batch submission of all the e-invoices created as well. This is supported from 17.0 and above in terms of the main submission, but the POS flow we support from 18.0 and above. And another country where we also support e-invoicing is Taiwan now. So ECPay is one of the leading providers of e-invoicing in Taiwan, and we managed to integrate successfully with ECPay, where we support the certification mode, but we also managed to support both the B2B and B2C endpoint, which Odoo will detect automatically if the issuance is maybe towards the B2B clients, or if the issuance of the invoices to B2C clients, the information differs. Odoo seamlessly allows you to manage that and submit it directly to ECPay, where we can directly submit to government, receive validation, and also ping the customer receiving it. And also we added some useful features as well, where there is a new tax invoice, normal tax invoice, where you can simply manage your VAT. But certain businesses, it's not just VAT that you need to manage, but there is a GBRT like excise tax that you need to manage. Without you having to decide which one you're issuing each and every time, depending on the tax that you use, Odoo will automatically detect which invoice that we have to submit and submit for you on your behalf as well. And lastly, foreign currency transaction conversion as well. So interestingly, GUI on default is meant to be received in Taiwan dollar, but Odoo is a flexible software where we allow management, registering payment, issuance of credit note in different currencies than the main currency that's being used. So in order to do that, we allow direct, simple transition of the currency or used on the invoice, use the right value based on the currency exchange inside of Odoo, and submit it to ECPay. And same goes for the credit note. So this is first one of the main steps that we established for e-invoicing in Taiwan. And I'll be mentioning later, but we have more flows that will be coming to support, which we already worked on, which is POS and e-commerce as well. And there are many different things, and I decided to actually group them under reporting and compliance. Starting off with the first one of the major, I will say, one of the major impact module that we managed to push this time was withholding tax on payment. So to give you a brief background, I will say, withholding tax, not all countries need it for the B2B transactions. For most of the countries that I've encountered, even myself as a Korean, we withhold the taxes on the payments that we make to the internal employees as an employer. But, there's a suspense, but for certain countries, you also need it for the B2B transaction. So when you purchase or when you receive a service in regards to it, when you pay them, you need to withhold the tax of certain amount. But also what's more interesting is that these withholding taxes, for certain countries, you have to register it at the earliest of its accrual or payment. But there are certain countries where you are only forced to register it at the time of payment. So using this module, we actually are able to not impact the accounting entry at the time of invoicing or vendor bill, but you can create a booking journal item. Actually, you can accrue and recognize the withholding tax at the time of registering payment, which allows you to comply with the local tax regulation. And this is not a country-specific module that we developed, because there are multiple countries needing it, not just in APAC, but all around the world. So we actually managed to push it as a standard way so that any country that needs it, they can download this and they can use it in their module, in their database. Especially, it will be useful for the countries that I mentioned here, Thailand, Indonesia, and Philippines, where for Thailand, it is one of the countries where it is only possible that you withhold tax at the time of payment. And this is also available for 18.0 and onwards, so even your existing clients, they don't actually need to modify the taxes. Once they install it, they will, as long as they have the negative tax amount, they can actually will see a checkbox. Once they take it, the withhold tax now becomes recognized at the time of payment. So this was one of the major changes, or one of the biggest push that we made in terms of the tax compliance affecting multiple countries in APAC this time. And there's a good news for Philippines, where we actually revamped and improved all the 2550Q, VAT report, SLSP, summary list of sales and purchases, QAP, quarterly alphabetical list of pays, SAWT. I won't be going into the details of that, but we managed to improve all of this so that the user interface is also exactly matching with the data that you need to export and what you need to report to the authority. But what's even better is that Odoo now directly generates the .dat file that is compliant with the BIR alpha and relief module. One second. So what this means is, previously you had to export the data and you had to go through some external tool, not even the BIR official tool, and then you had to convert it to .dat and then upload it to alpha module, validate it again, and submit it. No, now the simplest thing is, you have an option to directly see QAP, SAWT. You have an option which report is it that you're going to be using this for as an attachment. And then Odoo directly generates the .dat file, upload it for validation module, and submit it directly. And before I move on to the next one, this is available for 19.0 and onwards. And for Malaysia, we already had a tax report. But then we realized that we could actually do so much better, because in terms of actual filing, nowadays you don't just file it using paper or PDF. You actually have the My SST portal where you fill in the numbers there to file for your SST. But then when it comes to filing SST, they don't ask for just numbers, like how much you have to pay, how much you have as a credit. But what they also ask in general is that they would also ask for all the group of transactions. But for Malaysia, also you need to make sure that it is grouped by the Malaysian tax category code, tariff code, and also the Malaysian service code. So in order to support this better, we allow now you to just fill in the Malaysian tariff code or service code on the product, and all these lines will be displayed on the tax report. We have a separate composite tax report for that. So if you see in the picture, now you have a report, and underneath it you have an option to switch between another report underneath it. So one of the report, you can see all these grouped numbers here as well, and then you can actually use it to easily file for the tax return, which is also available on 19.0 and above. And not to mention, we added another small minor report, SST02A. And financial reporting, so for China and Vietnam, we already had the packages, but we wanted to make sure that the financial reporting is strengthened and even better. So for China, where they have two different standards, accounting standards for small businesses, accounting standard for business entities, we managed to set, we already had two different accounting packages, so the chart template for that, and we managed to update all the chart of account and also the profit and loss and balance sheet to be compliant with the latest regulation under the accounting standard. And this is available for 18.0 and onward versions. And for Vietnam, and we actually managed to push the report as well, both the profit and loss and balance sheet report, which is compliant with the Circular 200, which is the Vietnam accounting standards applicable for the big entities. And actually that was one of the major things that we pushed. I didn't cover yet, so you can also make sure to check the release note. It should cover all the other changes that we made in the APAC region. But we cannot stop here. We pushed things, and of course we are looking always ahead in the future. But what's next? What is it that's next coming? So first thing, of course, we want to enable e-invoicing more and more to different countries. And of course, Singapore is also not a country where we can simply escape now. Singapore has also a timeline coming for GST registered companies to use Invoice Now, which is the local invoice solution, which also uses PayPal. So since Odoo already supports PayPal, we are going to extend that usage to Singapore, but of course things are a little bit more complex there. We have to localize it, but we already started working on it, and we are already in the step of working to be an access point where our application got approved, and we are currently going through different phases so that we can finally be accredited as an access point. And next step will be the ready solution provider. And for those partners or users who are watching, and we are of course aware of the latest requirement where also the software needs to support advanced ordering and order balance. Where it needs to support advanced ordering and order balance, we are already taking that into consideration and building all of them at once so that we can smoothly become an access point and support our users to use Odoo as a ready solution provider as well. And we will be tackling this step by step. Singapore is our number one priority right now for the R&D APAC team in terms of e-invoicing, but we are not stopping here, and we're simultaneously also planning ahead for the other e-invoicing requirements, where we come to Philippines, Thailand, and Japan. Philippines, we already have the TIN number registered, and then we are currently in discussion with the BIR to have access directly to the platform. Documentation is already available, we can build it, but we are asking them for an access. We'll be proceeding further from there. Thailand, we are also going to first proceed with generation of all the XML files in Odoo so that the file can be uploaded to the portal for the submission. And Japan is also one of the countries in APAC, including Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, and New Zealand, that actually is willing to adopt PayPal network. It is not a priority in comparison to other countries where they have specific timeline and where the government has even more initiative, but we've been coming step by step so that we can support more e-invoicing in the APAC countries. But of course, we cannot ignore the ones that we push yet. Just because we meet the minimum requirement of supporting e-invoices, we are not going to stop there. We are going to improve it more and more and support more features so that it is even better for the user's experience. So Malaysia, we already support all the documents required, but we also want to make sure that there is better or even enhanced flow that we can support. So the first one we'll be working from is the consolidated invoice. We had to work on cleaning up the code and optimizing it so that we can actually proceed with this, and we managed to include it in 19.0. So based on this, now we will be moving on to taking another step further where we will allow direct generation of consolidated invoice also in the POS, directly in the invoicing app, so that you don't have to manually go through a different way of generating consolidated invoice, which is only supported in POS at the moment. We will also support e-commerce flow as well. Taiwan, Vietnam, these are the countries where we already have integration as with one of the leading providers. And we would also continue to support and enhance the flow that we can support in Odoo in different scope, which includes POS and e-commerce. And for Indonesia, core text, we directly allow supporting generation or export of the XML file already. But we also want to give another option to our users. So thanks to our Indonesian team, we are currently working with the Pajak.io so that we can provide another option to our users. They can still continue using the current way where they can export XML file and upload it to the portal, but we also want to give an option. A single click, they can submit e-invoice, and that's done. So those are the enhanced coverage that we are talking about. And next priority comes is we are going to further evolutionize withholding tax. Now that withholding tax on payment, the base module is set, we will be continue further progressing towards even supporting the better flow and making the businesses easier to manage directly in Odoo. There are three major parts, of course, when it comes to withholding tax. Withholding tax has different computation, especially Thailand has another set of computation method. But what we need to make sure is we also want to make sure Odoo, inside of it, you can generate certificate directly so that you don't have to go through external tool again. And this is not just a single transaction. For Thailand, every transaction that you need to generate it. And it's going to be such a bothersome to export the data externally from Odoo and then have to submit it to the clients. So all these withholding tax certificates, for Philippines, we already started working on it for BIR 2306 to 307. We will be starting soon for the 50 TAWI, which is for Thailand and also for Indonesia. And data export, for Philippines, one of the things that I mentioned that we pushed was we already support direct export of .dat. But that is for the expanded withholding tax and creditable withholding tax. But we also want to make sure that we can support final withholding tax better as well, which is next part of the plan for Philippines as well. And for Thailand, we also want to make sure that the data that we generate, export outside of Odoo is directly compatible with RD Prep, so that without any additional step, you can simply upload it to RD Prep to file your returns and use this. And lastly, there were so many different things, so I decided to actually put them into a single slide. And then a few major things that I can talk about is Sri Lanka, where we don't have a package yet, but we already are in progress. And then we hope to release this package soon. So this package includes chart of accounts, taxes, financial report, and VAT report, and we hope to release this as soon as possible as well. And Philippines, we will be tackling one by one the requirements for CAS, which includes senior citizen PWD discounts, a computerized book of accounts. We will be tackling this one by one. And we will also support payroll. Excuse me. And for Japan, We already have in progress about the VAT reports to support general and simplified taxpayer. Taiwan, improvement of the chart of accounts, financial report, and VAT report. Hong Kong, improvement, enhancement of payroll and eMPF integration. And Singapore, GST return, F5 and F8, where you can directly submit GST return via Odoo. So all of these actually is something that we are already working on, and there's actually so much more we are coming. Especially for the APAC region, we are going to need different types of cash flow statements, different types of packages that we need where we still haven't reached. So there will be more and more things that are coming, which is why keep contacting us, stay tuned, and we are committed into making Odoo further enabled for APAC, and so that we can support the APAC businesses better. And lastly, just to remind you, there is a feedback that you can submit. Not just for the Q&A, but also you have a channel. You can use this QR code, or you can send us a direct email with the requirements or the features that you would like to send us a feedback. Make sure to include the requirements, detailed use case, direct links and sources. This is the direct channel that you can contact our localization team, which I will be also able to reply to you directly. And thanks to some of the partners already in the Thailand and other region, we already managed to keep some of the tasks in the pipeline, which we wish to also further strengthen the collaboration with the partners and also other parties that are interested in and interested to work with us, so that we can improve and further our localization. So thank you. Sorry for drinking water a bit, but thank you so much, everyone. And then we can actually move with Q&A. Do we still have time? Not at all. Sorry, it seems I spoke a bit too much. There were too many things to go through. There was not enough time for Q&A, but as I mentioned, there's a feedback channel that you can reach out to us. But also, I'm staying here in OXP. Come, feel free to visit me. I'll be happy to address any of the questions you have. Thank you so much, everyone.